Imagine, right, that you go out and buy this $1 million absolute state-of-the-art biometric safe.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking titanium walls, cryptographic tumblers, retinal scanners. The brochure guarantees that it is absolute impenetrable security.
Sounds pretty safe.
Right. So you put your entire net worth inside, lock that massive door, and you sleep soundly.
But I'm guessing there's a catch here.
Oh, there is a massive catch, because you didn't read the fine print. That impenetrable safe is actually kept inside a room that is controlled by 24 guards.
Okay.
And if those guards decide they want your money, they don't even bother trying to hack your fancy biometric lock.
Right, why would they?
Exactly. They just take a sledgehammer to the drywall behind the safe, completely bypass the door, and take absolutely everything.
Just walk right around it.
Yep. And today, we are looking at the multi-billion-dollar crypto networks that are doing exactly that. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're pulling apart a deeply provocative technical analysis today of modern app chains.
Right. Specifically using Hyperliquid as our main case study, right?
Exactly. And honestly, this analysis forces a total reevaluation of what cryptographic audits even mean anymore. Because the thesis we're unpacking suggests that these networks might literally be the greatest architectural sleight of hand in modern tech.
I really want to linger on that safe analogy for a second, because, if you're listening to this and you've been evaluating new layer 1s or layer 2s based on their stated TPS, like transactions per second, or their cryptographic proofs, this deep dive is going to totally pull the rug out from under you.
It really is. It changes the whole paradigm.
Because the brutal mission for our deep dive today is to figure out, are app chains genuinely stepping into a decentralized Web3 future? Or are they literally just traditional Web2 corporate databases wearing like a cryptographic Halloween mask?
I mean, when you look at the underlying architecture, that mask slips pretty quickly.
Really? Just right off the bat?
Yeah, because from the outside, the facade is totally flawless. I mean, it has a native token, it has a block explorer, validators, Byzantine fault tolerance consensus.
Right, all the buzzwords.
Exactly. It checks all the boxes that make retail investors feel like, they are participating in decentralized finance.
But under the hood.
Right. Looking under the hood reveals a technical core operating by entirely different rules. Rules that effectively strip away real decentralization while keeping the marketing hype.
Okay, so to really grasp how deep this deception goes, we need to compare the data processing engines, right?
Yeah, that's the best place to start.
Let's look at the baseline expectation for a public blockchain.
Yeah.
Like, we assume a universal environment.
Right, a global state machine,
Yeah.
like the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine.
Yeah. So when a developer deploys a smart contract on Ethereum or, a universal layer 2 network, the network doesn't actually know what that arbitrary code is going to do ahead of time.
Exactly. It has to expect the unexpected.
Right.
I like to think of the EVM as essentially a universal smartphone.
A smartphone. Okay.
Yeah, so it dynamically allocates memory, it reads foreign bytecode on the fly, and it meticulously meters every single microoperation with gas.
And just for any beginners listening, gas is basically the fee you pay for the computer network to do the math, right?
Spot on. The network needs gas limits to ensure some sloppy, infinite loop in a smart contract doesn't just halt the entire global network.
Right, which makes sense.
It does, and that universality provides immense flexibility. I mean, anyone can build anything, but the computational overhead for that is just staggering.
Which is why Ethereum can be so slow and expensive.
Exactly.
And this brings us to the really shocking revelation from the technical specs we're analyzing today. Hyperliquid's core trading engine, it doesn't use smart contracts at all.
None. Zero.
None. Like literally none.
Literally none. The entire operating logic, the order book, the margin calculations, the liquidations, the profit accounting, all of it is hard-coded into a compiled binary. Yeah, it is a monolithic Rust backend. So in computer science terms, they've built a specialized finite state machine with a rigidly fixed set of transactions.
So wait, instead of a smartphone where, anyone can install a new app, we are basically being sold a calculator with just 4 buttons permanently soldered onto the motherboard.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Like order, cancel, deposit, withdraw.
Exactly. And if you try to push a button that isn't there, the kernel doesn't even recognize your finger.
That's crazy. But I guess, that architectural choice is where they get their phenomenal speed from, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because validators aren't analyzing foreign bytecode or calculating complex gas limits. They're just taking highly structured, utterly predictable data and running it through a pre-compiled engine.
So the hardware isn't really thinking.
No, it's just executing. It's incredibly fast.
Now, I know they did eventually bolt on a compatible layer for decentralized apps, but the sources we're looking at make it very clear that this layer is entirely isolated, right?
Oh, completely isolated. Hardware and software, it's separated from that base trading engine.
So calling that underlying hard-coded Rust program a blockchain is, according to this analysis, technically illiterate.
It's technically a distributed corporate backend.
Yeah.
Which really makes you question the massive security perimeter they've built around it.
Yeah, and that part is genuinely baffling to me. I mean, if the system is essentially a closed loop, like a centralized Rust program running on private servers,
Yeah.
why go through the massive latency overhead of Byzantine fault tolerance?
Right. Why bother with the crypto stuff?
Exactly. Why are they linking blocks with cryptographic hashes? It feels like, I don't know, hiring a heavily armored convoy just to transport a grocery list.
It does seem overkill, but the analysis frames this through a really fascinating concept, which they call mutual distrust within a cartel.
Mutual distrust. Okay, explain that.
Well, you have to look at who is actually running this network. Hyperliquid's consensus is maintained by exactly 24 servers.
Just 24.
It's just 24. It is a strictly moderated, invitation-only club. You cannot simply download the client, sync a node in your basement, and become validator number 25.
So there is absolutely zero real decentralization for the public here.
None.
You can't participate in consensus, and the voting power is tied to tokens heavily concentrated among the founders and their affiliated market makers.
Exactly. So back to your question, why the heavy cryptography if it's centralized?
Yeah, wouldn't it be cheaper and more honest to just rent a massive Amazon AWS server?
It would be. But the target audience for this security architecture isn't the retail user trading like $200. It's the high-frequency trading funds, the institutional market makers.
The whales.
The massive whales. These entities inject millions of dollars of liquidity into the system, and they categorically despise and distrust each other.
Wow. I am just stunned by the sheer paranoia of that. So they aren't running complex BFT consensus protocols to protect the network from outside hackers or to secure regular user funds. They're literally running it to protect themselves from each other.
That's exactly it. The cryptography is strictly an internal HR dispute resolution tool.
An HR tool for Wall Street wolves.
Basically, because think about it, in a purely centralized AWS database, whoever holds the admin keys could hypothetically front-run a RIDL fund by a single millisecond. Or they could rewrite a trade to dodge a massive liquidation.
Oh, I see.
So the consensus mechanism acts as an impartial technical referee. It ensures no single member of this 24-server cartel can falsify the block sequence. It basically keeps the wolves from devouring each other in the dark.
Man, if you're listening to this right now and you currently have funds bridged to an app chain, this is the part where your ears should be burning.
Seriously.
Because from the outside, you see a decentralized blockchain. But inside, the cryptography is just refereeing a closed corporate cartel.
It's all a show for the retail guys.
Which really begs the question, how does a regular retail user's money actually move into this closed loop?
Right, let's trace the user journey, specifically focusing on the bridge mechanics. Say you have USDC, right? Real value.
Yeah, actual digital dollars.
The Appchain exists in an isolated vacuum. It has no direct fiat off-ramps. You can't just wire it money. So you have to send your USDC to a smart contract on a bridging network, in this case, Arbitrum.
Okay, yeah, I've done this 100 times. You hit bridge, you pay the network fee, and you wait a few minutes for the balance to update on the new chain.
Right. But the sources highlight a terrifying legal and technical reality about that exact moment you hit bridge. When your funds hit that Arbitrum smart contract, your true ownership mathematically evaporates.
Because the tokens I get on the app chain aren't real USDC anymore.
Exactly.
It's exactly like walking into a casino, isn't it? You walk up to the cage, you hand the cashier cold, hard cash, and they slide you a stack of little plastic chips.
That's a perfect analogy. Inside the casino, inside the app chain, those chips represent value. You trade them at lightning speed, you go long, you go short.
But the actual physical money,
the real money is sitting locked in the casino's vault back on Arbitrum. The 24 validators simply watch the Arbitrum contract, they see your deposit, and they just type a new number onto your screen in their internal ledger.
it's just a phantom number on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And the trap snaps shut when you try to leave the casino.
Precisely.
Because if I want to cash out my phantom chips for real dollars, I am entirely at the mercy of the cartel.
You are. Initiating withdrawal requires those 24 servers to collectively sign a transaction, a threshold signature, to unlock the Arbitrum vault.
Okay, so wait. If those servers go offline, or if, say, a supermajority of them simply decides they don't want to open the door,
Your money is trapped in that smart contract forever.
that is insane. It's basically an unlicensed, unregulated bank operating with zero deposit insurance.
Yep. If 2/3 of that closed club decide to retroactively rewrite the database or even just blacklist your specific address, there is no decentralized recourse.
You can't appeal to the broader Ethereum community.
No, because the Ethereum community doesn't control the vault keys. The 24 servers do.
And technically, I mean, no one can stop them from just draining the vault themselves.
Technically, no. They have the keys.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Mm-hmm.
Because if these 24 validators have unchallenged control over a multi-million-dollar vault, and they could just sign a transaction, drain the Arbitrum contract, and vanish to some non-extradition treaty country,
Right.
why hasn't this entire house of cards collapsed yet? Like, why haven't they stolen the money?
Well, that is the multi-billion-dollar question, and the analysis introduces a concept to explain this called Ersatz security based on pragmatism.
Ersatz, meaning like a substitute or an imitation. Like
Exactly. So fake security.
fake cryptographic security.
Yes. Replaced by very real economic security. The safety of your funds doesn't rely on immutable code anymore. It relies purely on game theory.
Because of the fees.
Right. This Appchain generates massive revenue in legal trading fees. And on top of that, their native token commands a market capitalization in the billions.
Ah, okay. So they make so much money legally running the casino that it's just mathematically irrational to rob the vault.
Exactly. It is far more profitable for them to collect a permanent compounding tax on retail traders than to pull off one massive exit scam, nuke their reputation, and destroy their cash cow.
But there has to be some kind of technical tripwire, right?
Mhm.
Like, if they did start quietly siphoning funds, wouldn't someone notice?
Yes, and that is where the cryptographic hashes actually do serve the public, though indirectly. Every single state transition is hashed.
Right.
So if the cartel secretly drained the Arbitrum bridge, the on-chain balances would no longer match the internal ledger of the exchange.
And people would see that.
Instantly. On-chain sleuths would spot the hash mismatch in minutes, trust would evaporate instantly, liquidity would flee, and their multi-billion-dollar token would just plummet to zero.
So the foundational philosophy of crypto, code is law, has been completely subverted here. It's basically been replaced by greed is good. Their insatiable desire for future fees is literally the only thing protecting your current deposits.
That's exactly what it is.
But let's follow that logic to its breaking point. What happens during a prolonged crypto winter?
Well, that is the massive systemic vulnerability.
Right, because when the market inevitably crashes and retail volume dries up and that daily fee revenue just plummets, the game theory flips entirely.
It does. Suddenly, the $1 billion sitting in the bridge vault looks a lot more tempting than the trickle of bear market fees.
Wow. So when the financial incentive to play fair disappears, you are relying entirely on the moral compass of an anonymous cartel.
Which is not a great place to be in crypto.
No. That brick wall behind the safe looks terrifyingly fragile in a bear market.
It really does, and that leads us to question the primary motivations of the developers in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, why go through all the trouble of engineering this complex facade? If you just want a really fast trading engine, why not deploy a roll-up on Ethereum or a smart contract on Solana?
The architecture isn't a bug, it's a financial moat.
Exactly. They have to be extracting serious value to justify building an entirely isolated ecosystem.
So what are the motives? I know the analysis breaks this down into 3 core commercial pillars.
Yeah, 3 specific reasons developers are abandoning public networks for isolated app chains. Pillar number 1 is total gas capture.
Let's break that down. In a universal network, you share transaction fees with thousands of independent validators worldwide, right?
Right, the fees get spread around.
But by building an app chain, this 24-server cartel totally encloses the ecosystem, and they just keep 100% of the revenue stream.
Every single cent. Now, pillar number 2 is where the real wealth transfer happens, and that's MEV monopolization.
MEV, maximal extractable value. Can you explain how that works here for listeners who might not be deep into the weeds?
Sure. So in a public network like Ethereum, the mempool, which is basically the waiting room for pending transactions, is a bloodbath. Everyone can see the pending transactions. So searcher bots compete fiercely, paying high bribes to miners to jump the line and front-run retail trades.
But inside this app chain,
The mempool is utterly dark. It is a total black box to the outside world. The 24 validators see every single retail order before it is executed,
oh wow,
which creates an environment where they can legally front-run ordinary users without having to compete with any external bots.
so they can quietly reorder the transactions within a block.
Exactly. Ensuring that their own internal market makers extract the maximum possible spread before the retail user's trade even clears.
That is just a legalized cheat code. I mean, they own the sandbox, they dictate the physics of the sandbox, and they can tilt it whenever a retail order comes in to make sure the house always wins.
Yep. They are actively redistributing wealth from casual retail traders to institutional market makers, and they just mask it as slippage.
It's brilliant in a really dark way. So what's the third pillar?
The third is token utility inflation. In these closed systems, the developers enforce a strict rule. You must pay transaction fees exclusively in their newly minted native token.
So even if the token has absolutely no underlying real-world value or governance power.
Doesn't matter. By forcing millions of trades to use it as gas, they create artificial mandatory demand.
Which violently drives up the market capitalization of an otherwise useless asset.
Exactly. And who holds the majority of that token supply?
Let me guess, the founders, the cartel validators, and the early venture capital backers.
Bingo.
When you synthesize all of this, it represents a massive, almost cynical reversal of the original Web3 ethos.
It really is a 180-degree turn.
Because developers have taken the peer-to-peer synchronization and asymmetric encryption designed by Satoshi Nakamoto tools that were explicitly invented to protect anonymous users from censorship and corporate control and inverted them.
Completely inverted them. They are using cryptography to build ultra-fast, heavily centralized Web2 servers, but disguising it in Web3 marketing terminology.
All optimized specifically to extract wealth from retail users.
And honestly, it is undeniably a brilliant commercial product.
I mean, yeah, it works.
It perfectly solves the problem of trading speed, and it resolves the mutual distrust among those massive institutional market makers, but it simply rents the aesthetics of blockchain to pacify retail users.
Making them feel like they are participating in DeFi while they're casually handing their money over to a custodial bridge.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener. How do you actually protect yourself? Because in an industry that is practically suffocating under information overload and marketing hype, critical thinking is your only defense.
It really is.
So we can distill this down to a 5-step framework for spotting a corporate database hiding in crypto clothing. Let's run through it.
All right, step 1, check the node count. Are there thousands of independent validators or just a few dozen tightly controlled servers?
Step 2, look at the mempool. Is the transaction waiting room public and transparent, or is it a dark box controlled exclusively by the operators?
Step 3, try to participate yourself. Can you permissionlessly spin up a node and validate the chain on your own equipment, or is it an invitation-only club?
Step 4, look at the core logic. Is the network running universal smart contracts, or is it a hard-coded backend where you can only push the exact buttons they allow you to push?
And finally, step 5, follow the real money. Where does the bridge liquidity actually sit, and who holds the multi-sig keys to that vault?
If you see these warning signs, you are not in a decentralized ecosystem. You are trusting a corporate cartel.
And that leads to a really profound, unspoken question regarding the future of this entire industry, because we are seeing institutional players and millions of retail users who are perfectly content handing their money over to these closed, centralized databases. They really don't seem to care about decentralization as long as the system is fast, the UX is smooth, and it yields a profit.
Right, yield covers a multitude of architectural sins.
Exactly. But if the market is voluntarily trading trustless freedom for centralized convenience, what happens to the multi-trillion-dollar valuation premium of the crypto asset class?
That's a great point. Historically, blockchains are valued exponentially higher than traditional software companies because they offer immutable, censorship-resistant infrastructure.
Right. So if the next generation of investors wakes up and realizes they aren't actually buying revolutionary financial infrastructure, but are merely buying unregistered, highly inflated shares in unregulated Web2 fintech companies,
Will the entire crypto market inevitably repriced to match traditional Web2 valuations.
Exactly. A total collapse, not driven by a hack or a rug pull, but by the sudden realization of what they actually bought.
Are we just rebuilding the exact same opaque, exploitative banking system we supposedly tried to escape, just with cooler jargon and absolutely zero regulatory oversight?
It sure looks like it.
Think back to the biometric safe we talked about at the start. It doesn't matter how advanced the lock on the front door is, if the people guarding it can just tear down the wall whenever the game theory tells them it's profitable to do so.
Perfectly said.
That is something crucial to mull over the next time you hear the word Appchain. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.